So picture this. Take M'Baku from Black Panther and Wong from Doctor Strange and put them together in a slow, deliberate, life-affirming film. What do you think you get? You get a really, really good film. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watch or Pass, and today I'm here to talk about 9 Days. Hopefully I won't be talking about it for 9 days, but I guess we will find out. It is a new film being released by Sony Pictures Classics, and it's a very strange film. It's a very original film, but it's a very beautiful film. I'm going to go into a little bit about the film, 3 things I liked, 3 things I didn't like, and then talk about the ending. So as you can expect, this will have spoilers. If you don't want to know anything about the film, which to be honest, you might not want to know anything about the film because it's a really interesting experience to just kind of go through and learn as you're watching. So if that's the case, stop watching. You can check out the review on watcherpass.com. That's where I post my written reviews. They're much more vague. They don't have any spoilers. Or you can just watch the film and then come back. Or if you really don't care about spoilers, you really want to know what happens because it is kind of a mysterious trailer and a mysterious film, then, let's go. But so in 9 days, you have Winston Duke, who, you know him as M'Baku from Black Panther, and you know him as the dad in Us. He's this, big, imposing, powerful actor, and he plays a very mild-mannered, quiet kind of observer in this film. He's in like a cabin out kind of in the desert. It's a very kind of isolated place, and he's sitting there and he's watching the lives of multiple people. And he's watching on these devices, these kind of ancient devices. So for my viewers who are maybe a little bit younger, this is a VHS tape. It's what your parents, maybe your grandparents watched movies on. It's a tape. It records video on it. It's like 320p or maybe 240p, I think. I think the resolution is less than standard definition, but it's what we used to watch movies on. Well, I guess technically it's film, so there's no real resolution per se, but when you were watching it on your television, it was like 320 by 240, so like less than standard, than high definition. Maybe it was 480, maybe it was 480p. It was at least 480i. Anyways, it was very poor quality. But Winston Duke is watching this, watching these lives on multiple TVs, and they're multiple old tube TVs, like CRT TVs. So already you can tell this film has a style to it. And he's watching various people's lives. He's watching, some mundane events, some very traumatic events, some very big events. And also he is occasionally joined by Wong from Doctor Strange, or, in this case, the actor Benedict Wong, who plays Kyo, who comes in. He kind of seems to act like a supervisor. He discusses Will, who's Winston Duke's character is named Will. He discusses Will's observations. He discusses who he's watching and things that happen. But he also is kind of a support person for Will as he's doing this very difficult job. And so what happens is Will takes, interviews, I think 5 to 6 people who is very mysterious, but he offers them a chance at life. So you've got these people coming in, they're talking to Will about experiences and talking to Will about different situations and how they would approach things, and they're also observing these lives like Will does and taking their own notes. And so he, over the process of 9 days, challenges and observes these individuals as a kind of a reality show, although it's not corny. It's not like a corny reality show, but he is trying to narrow down who will be the selected individual to then get life. And that's about all you know. So let's go into the things I loved about this film. First is the style, and you can kind of hear that from my description. This film has a very definite style, and it's a very interesting, engaging style. You have this old cabin, like almost like a log cabin. I mean, it's not a log cabin, but it's a small house kind of in the middle of nowhere. You've got this wall of VHS TVs, and you've got these VHS tapes of these people's lives. And it's a very compelling way to see it because you instantly you see this disconnect because you see the life played out in this VHS tape. So it lets you easily know that, what you're observing in, I guess, the real world or the living world, and then what's happening in this place that Will is at, that they don't really tell you what it is. They don't because some people ask if they're dead, and he says, you know, are they dead or alive? And he kind of says no. So it's unclear what this is. I don't know if it's like purgatory or if it's some way to give new souls like a chance at life, and he's trying to evaluate them. But in any event, the film has this great style to it, because you've got the old school VHS videos. You've got this cabin that's essentially isolated, kind of surrounded by like a desert almost, or like a salt dune. So overall, this film has this very unique look that is really engaging at the start. I like that it uses kind of this old technology, because it makes it look interesting and different, and also very deliberate, because Will has to watch these VHS tapes. So he is, you know, VHS tapes work by like a normal tape player. You know, you can go through, maybe you can fast forward, but it's a slow process to go through. You can't just jump back and forth like you would in any sort of digital film. So it makes him observe, and it makes the other people observe life kind of as it's happening in, I guess, real time, or well, at least in the same time, in the same amount of time as the people are experiencing it. The second thing I loved is the music, because this film is filled with like violins and guitars and a lot of individual instruments, which again goes into the style of this film and helps to, I thought, showcase kind of the isolating nature of Will's work, because it's strange, because he's watching all of these lives, but you also kind of find out later that some of these are people that he has observed before. Like he's watching their life and watching events after the fact to try to come to figure out what went wrong. So he's not necessarily observing all these people's lives. Sometimes he's going back and observing past events to try to figure out where they strayed to then have, and then some horrible event will have happened. You know, like they got in a car accident, or maybe they got shot, things like that. And so it is a very kind of isolating work. He's alone in this cabin. He eventually gets these other people there, but at the start, at least, he's alone in this cabin. He watches these people all day, makes notes, and then eventually, every once in a while, Kyo will come by and talk to him. But it is a very kind of solitary existence for him. And I think the music helped to highlight that, because it was beautiful, which the film is beautiful, but also very solitary, because you have like a single violin playing, or you have like guitars, like a guitar playing. And then occasionally the music would swell to some really beautiful arrangements as well in some of the more emotional parts of the film. But I just thought the music was a really good contributor, especially in a film that seems to live and die by its style, and this film does. The third thing I really loved, and this will get into a lot of the story, is there was an appreciation of life that this film has, and that this film will impart on you. It's a very life-affirming type of film. And so what happens is when someone is cut, and Will says that he only does this for certain people, but he kind of seems to do it for everyone. So maybe he's just a good person. When someone is cut, he'll ask them, you know, what experience do you want? And they'll tell him something. And so he will go, him and Kyo, and occasionally another person will go and kind of build whatever it is they ask for. So the first person asks for a day at the beach. And so they build like a set for them with sand and water, and a project, like a screen in the background where they will project like a video of the beach. And it is a really interesting and very fascinating way to show this. It's almost like a stage, like a theater type performance. But you'll see these, you know, I don't know if they're people, they're souls, whatever they are, who have never really experienced life, kind of experience it for the first time. And you know, the film does a really good job of highlighting their joy and their wonder. And also it's a very, very creative way to recreate it. So like for the beach scene, you know, he built this box with sand, and then there was water, and to simulate the waves, you've got Will on the edge with a broom, kind of like moving the water to create a wave sensation. And there was one scene where the person wanted to have like a bike ride. So they had like a bike, and they put it up on a prop so that they could pedal, and they had, you know, beautiful scenery. And then at some point, Will like dumped flower petals, so it looked like, you know, there were petals raining down on the person as they were bike riding through these beautiful trees. And so you get these very simple but beautiful experiences that kind of make you appreciate the simpler things in life. I think a lot of people, you know, especially this last year, and who knows, maybe in the future, we have not been able to go outside as much. So some people have not been able to kind of appreciate the day-to-day life because you're worried about other things. And so this film really does give you this sense of living in the moment, appreciating the beauty around you. And I just found it very, very life affirming. So the things I didn't love, and some of these I do love, but some of these are things I'm just going to criticize because this might be useful for people. The first is the pace. Although I didn't mind it, it is a slow film. So it's a film that doesn't, there's not much action. It's a very kind of dramatic film, and it progresses at a very slow and kind of confusing pace. It doesn't really reveal much. And so I enjoy that type of a film. But if you're a type of person that maybe isn't going to like a slower paced film, this might not be for you. The second thing I guess I kind of didn't like, although I actually didn't mind it, is the confusing nature of it. And again, this I really should preface this by things that other people might not like, because I actually love this part about it because it doesn't reveal much. If you watch my review of Stillwater, you'll know that I really enjoy films that don't tell you much of what's going on and kind of make you figure it out or bring the viewer along with the film and have things revealed slowly. And that's exactly what 9 Days has. It doesn't tell you much about the story. It doesn't even really tell you much about what Will is using to evaluate or what happens to these people after. It kind of has you experience it as they're being evaluated. And you learn more about kind of what Will's looking for as he's talking to these people about what they did or didn't do right, or when he cuts people, or sometimes when he's debriefing with Kyo, he'll let something slip about what he's using to evaluate. But there really isn't much known. And especially at the start, you don't really know what's going on. You just see this guy watching these VHS tapes, and then some really horrible life event happens on the tapes, and then he kind of goes back and tries to figure out what happens. And so it's a very confusing film, but if you like that type of film, you're going to love it. And I loved it. So, but I'm just throwing it out there in case someone might not like it. And the third thing I actually kind of didn't like, although it's okay because the film itself is a very good film, is the ending. And now I'm going to go into the ending. So again, if you don't want to know about the ending, don't watch. It's an interesting one. So what happens is, so from the 5 or 6, I think it might have been 5 individuals, Will narrowed it down to 2. You've got Emma, who's played by Zazie Beetz, and Kane, who's played by Bill Skarsgard. And so they are actually very different people. I mean, I don't think any of them are bad, but like Emma is much more of like appreciating life, appreciating, you know, the beauty of what's going on, and really kind of connecting with the people that she's watching and the people around her. Whereas Kane, he's a little more ruthless. Some of his answers are like self-preserving, or some of the things that he focuses on are some of the darker aspects of life. And so, you know, Will narrows down to these 2, and eventually he chooses Kane, who will be the one that will then, you know, get life. And part of, you know, when he's talking to Kyo about his decisions in the build up to this, he seems to emphasize that Emma kind of has the right reasons, but life is hard, and so Kane will probably survive better. And so he's making, I guess, a practical call versus a heart call, because I think he thinks Emma would be a better person and would appreciate the chance at life more, but he's worried because he recently had someone who wasn't able to handle life. He's worried that he needs to pick someone who's a little bit stronger. So he picks Kane. Emma, and so when he tells Emma takes it actually very well. He asks her what he can do, what he can recreate for her, and I think okay. This is an apology on my part. I watched this film about a week ago, so I remember a good amount of it, but some of the details I don't 100% remember. So some of this is just going off of what I kind of remember. So if this is different from the actual ending, I apologize for that. It'll have the gist of it though. So then I think Emma whispers into Will's ear her request. He doesn't say it. Like, you don't know what it is, but he says something like, no, like that's the one thing I can't do. And so, you know, Emma smiles and thanks him for the opportunity and then leaves. And then after she leaves, Will notices this note that was left on his desk. I don't know how Emma slipped it, but you know, she's very talented, so maybe she just kind of slipped it in. And so he looks at the note, and it essentially tells Will, you know, that she could tell that he used to appreciate life, but it seems like he's stopped. It seems like he's become, a little more sad. And so what she did was that during her 9 days, she put little reminders around the house of things that you should appreciate in life. And so then when Will reads this, he kind of, becomes a little bit overwhelmed. He kind of looks around to see, and he sees these little notes that kind of symbolize either observations that she made or memories. So I think one of them was like a day at the beach, and it was she was watching that person's beach day, and so she was watching that, and she really appreciated that as well. So she wrote that down and kind of put that in the space where she was hiding to watch it. And then there were some notes, when she was watching the videos about things that she saw that she appreciated as well. So Will goes around and he sees all these things, and I think it causes him to maybe reevaluate some of his criteria. It causes him to maybe to realize that Emma really did have a good understanding of what was going on, and also she saw in him what was missing, because he had previously been alive, and so that was his big, I don't know, claim to fame is wrong, but is the right word. It was a thing that he used to give himself a personal expertise in the evaluation, because he'd been alive, so he knew what he should be looking for. But it seems like over the years of being an observer, he kind of forgot what that was, even though he kept bringing it up. I think he personally kind of forgot about it. And you can tell in his character isn't very emotional. His character is very kind of formulaic by the book. So I think in this moment, he kind of remembers what it was to be alive, which is an amazing accomplishment for Emma to do that to him. So he runs out. I think he runs into Kyo as he's going out, and Emma runs into Kyo as well and like thanks him for all they did and whatnot. And so Kyo, says, "Oh, she went that. She's just over there." So he runs and runs. You're not sure if he's going to find her, right? Because he kind of runs off into the sand dust. It's kind of like a mist, but I think it's actually like blown up sand that's kind of surrounding this area. And so he runs out in there, but he finds her. He finds Emma, and so when he sees her, he then starts doing this theater performance, which is what he has told. I think he told Emma that this was, one of the times when he felt alive, is when he used to be a stage actor when he was living, and so he had this performance that he thought was just, he was in his element, and he did a great job when he was alive. And so he starts doing this theater performance, and it's really interesting thing, because it could be very silly, right? Like you've got this person who hasn't shown much emotion doing this theater performance with nothing around them except for like the sand, and then Emma watching. But Winston Duke is such a phenomenal actor, and I think he must have some sort of theatrical training, because he projects this like stage presence and this power to his performance that is amazing to see. I mean, it's a really interesting thing to watch, and also it's very powerful to watch because of his performance. So he does his performance, his monologue. It's not a very long one. I think it's about a minute, maybe 2 minutes, but he does this monologue, and then I think they hug maybe, and then it ends. Like the film ends after this. So you don't really know what happens. I mean, you also don't know the rules. I think he's only allowed to send one, but you're not sure if he can send a couple. So I would have expected him to send Emma, but you don't know that. Also, you don't know. It seems like after they're not chosen, these souls, people, whatever you want to call them, they kind of disappear. They go off into the sand mist, and I think the implication is that they kind of go into nothing. So I don't know if he could send Emma or if he can hold on until the next spot. Like I'm not sure if they are only allowed to have a certain amount of time to be evaluated. Those rules aren't really made clear. But the ending is just it just kind of ends, which is fine, right? It's okay to not know that kind of stuff, because you get this overall experience. But it can be a little frustrating to not, he should have sent Emma. Emma was the right choice. But if he would have sent Emma, you wouldn't have gotten this beautiful ending and this wonderful performance by Duke. So that's 9 days. It's a very unique film. I actually kind of thought of it a little bit like Cloud Atlas, which it doesn't have like the time spanning part of it, but it has this confusing story with this underlying beautiful music and a very deliberate style. Now, 9 Days doesn't go as far as Cloud Atlas does, but that was kind of what I was thinking of when I was watching this film. So, if this sounds interesting to you, I would definitely recommend seeing it. It is a very unique experience, and wherever you see it, just make sure you have good audio, because I think the music really does contribute to this film. So that's 9 Days. It's in theaters on August 6th, 2021. And thank you so much for watching. If you liked this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot and make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you. Oh, and also, if you see the film and I got some of the stuff wrong because I'm going off memory, please drop me a note in the comments and tell me what I got wrong, because I will definitely see this again when it's back out, but it's suspended a bit and I don't have access to the movie anymore. So let me know what I got wrong. Thank you.